Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is James with yet another installment of Crayola Corner. This one will be the last problem for the first functions problem in the replet. And it says, create a function called isPhone that takes a string as its first argument. If there are 10 digits in the string, console.log true. Otherwise, console log out false. Cool, so just going over this guy, it seems like I understand what's going on here. Nothing I really need to look up at this point. So I'm going to write a function. It's going to be called isPhone. And also, for future reference, when you're watching these videos, this little icon right there, when it's a circle, means I haven't saved. So when you're watching these and you see me struggle through if I've saved or not, there is your indicator. isPhone takes a string as its first argument. And let's go ahead and finish out my function. There's my if statement right there. So if, and let's go ahead and put that guy in and put, wait, that doesn't look right. There we go. That looks better. Condition, and then let's go ahead and set up my else statement real quick to finish this guy off. Else, all right, if there are 10 digits, if there are 10 digits, then it wants me to console.log true. Dope. Else, I can console.log false. Cool. So let's kind of dive in here and let's make a plan. So in the last one, it wanted us to see if the length of a string was greater than 5. So the intuitive way to start here is to say, if str.length equals 10, then we can console.log true, else console.log false. I mean, that's pretty simple. And so let's go ahead and run this guy real quick. And if I pass it in a string of 222, 222, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is isPhone. Yep, cool. That's 10 digits. I expect this to return true. So let's hit it. Cool, it returns true. And if I hit it this way, isPhone, and I hit it this way, it's more or less digits. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, close. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I comment this guy out, and I save it. And I run it, I expect it to return false. Cool. So at its simplest form, technically, I feel like there's the answer to the question. Now, sometimes questions, again, aren't necessarily written perfect. But by reading through this, and the fact that it is a function called isPhone, it seems like it wants me to determine if it's a phone number or not. So if I remove this use case, and I give it a phone number of 720-303-9701. This is a phone number. And in reality, what we should expect this to return in this particular scenario is false. But I imagine what the problem wants us to do is return true. So it seems like we have more work to do. So let's go ahead and check this guy out real quick. So if I have a string and I pass it in this way, string.length doesn't really help me because it's going to evaluate each character and each space in here, and it's not going to take them as numbers. So the first kind of clue that I have here is that I need to get a string into a number. And so I'm not really sure how to do that, but I'm going to Google how to get a string into a number. Oh my gosh, if I could type. And I'm going to put in JavaScript. Cool, so I scroll through these, how I convert a string into an integer. Stack Overflow is your friend. Okay, so this guy uses parse int. So I saw that earlier. Let's go ahead and check out what parse int is. Parse int function parses a string argument and returns an integer with specified radix. Cool. All right, so I don't really need this radix shit, but to parse a value, if the string argument is not a string, then it's converted to a string using the toString turn value. Okay, so here's something that we need to notice. Parse int is a function, and it returns nan if it ever hits something that's not that can't be converted to a number. So what we know about functions is that if it returns something, it immediately stops. So that tells me that I need to be able to further evaluate the string. So I can't just parse int the string. So it seems to me that now I need to loop through and evaluate each character individually. So let's go ahead and leave parse, oh my gosh, parse int in here so I remember what that is. And let's go ahead and set up a for loop. I'm doing this because, like I said, if I were to just put a string in here and I put the 222, it seems like what's going to happen is it's going to start. It seems like it's going to. Well, let's just test it. Let's test it and make sure that what's going to happen is what I think is going to happen. So if I parse int, let's say str, and then I log str. I think that what's going to happen is if I do this one, let's comment this guy out. I think, so let's try and put a little digit here. I think what's going to happen is it's going to give me 222 and then it's going to stop. So let's see what happens here. 222 is phone, console.log string, parse int string. Oh, sorry. Let me set up a variable real quick. Let meow equal parse int float, console.log meow. All right, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. So this tells me now that we need to loop through things. So I'm going to comment this guy out. I'm going to get rid of these guys, and I'm going to set up a regular for loop. That way I can evaluate each individual character in the string. So str.length. And what I want to do is I want to parse int. And let's go ahead and set up a variable called let's just call meow again, equal parse int. And we're going to, let's make sure everything's doing what we expect it to do. Console.log meow. So the reason why I'm doing this is I want to make sure right now that I used parse int as the whole string, but I want to make sure that it doesn't stop my for loop somehow. So I'm going to unconsole.log. I'm going to comment this. I'm going to run it, and I'm going to save it, and I'm going to run. Oh my glob, and I'm going to run it. Okay, cool. So it returns me not a number and 2222222. And it gets me false, but that's still evaluating something separately. I'm not really worried about the bottom half of my function right now. I'm worried about my for loop. Cool. So what I have right now is a variable that contains that as each iteration of the loop goes through is a number or not a number. So let's get into this for loop here and see what we can do for each one of those numbers. So I know right now that I'm going to need to have a place to put this. This being each number that comes through, and since it's going to be a number after I parse int it, I can't concatenate it because it'll just add it. So I'm going to go ahead and let string. Actually, let's do this. Let array equal here. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to make sure that I can push meow through each iteration. If I had tried to concatenate it, it would have added it together. And the array becomes a place where I can now hold on to each one of these variables. So now we're facing another problem, right? I can do this. I can array dot push meow. And let's go ahead and at the end of this guy, let's log what my array looks like. Save it. Get this out of your guys' way so you can see it. All right, cool. So I'm still not really at the point that I can evaluate this. I have something called NaN in there, but it's still going to take up that other digit slot. I want it to act like it doesn't exist. So what I can do, right, is I can remove that if it's not a number. All right, so that means I'm going to have to set up an if statement. Let's go ahead and set up our if statement, and we know we want the meow to be in there, the push to be in there. So let's set up a new statement. So if let's go ahead and get Control X, Control V. Why did I was going to Control Z? All right, so if meow equals nan, I'm going to push it in. So let's go ahead and run this guy real quick and check it out. Okay, so it seems like it's not hitting my if statement. That doesn't make any sense to me because meow is the number 2, and it's not going to be equal to nan. Oh, I'm sorry. So meow equals, so it should be this guy. It should be, if it isn't nan, push it. So let's try that. Okay, so this is new. It still did the exact same thing. And for some reason, in JavaScript, not a number is not equal to not a number, so that'll return false. Let's check this out for you guys real quick. So this is confusing. So I'm going to comment this guy out, and I'm going to log console.log to find out if nan is equal to nan. And what I expect to happen here is that it should give me a value of false when I run this. Right? I mean, a value of true. Sorry, it gave me false. So for some weird reason in JavaScript, not a number is not the same type and value as not a number. Which is, I know it's hurting your brains, but follow along, which means now that if I come up here, it still thinks that nan is not nan. So this is throwing a whole kink into our process. So let's go ahead and uncomment out our function. Let's save it, and let's see if we can figure out a way to evaluate what's going on with nan, right? Nan equals nan false. So let's go ahead and check this guy out real quick. Open a new tab. See what we got here. Because JavaScript says so. All right, so there's got to be a way then that I can evaluate. There's got to be a way if I can evaluate if something is nan or not. If I can't test it in a conditional, there's got to be some way that I can test nan. So is nan. The isNan function determines whether a value of nan is nan or not. Okay, so it's going to give me a Boolean. I can work with this. So if we read this real quick, true is given if the value is nan, otherwise return false. Cool, so we passed in a function. Let's go ahead and grab this guy real quick. Control C. Let's put him back up in here. Control V. And let's comment him out. And let's comment out is nan, and see if we can figure out how to work with this real quick. All right, so by running something through the function isNan, I can evaluate whether the value is true or false. So if it is Nan, it's going to give me true. Otherwise, it's going to give me false. So right now I have just a number. But if I evaluate it this way, and we use our brand new learned isNan function, so without looking at anything else, let meow equal isNan parseInt string true or false. And if it is true, right, then it's going to be Nan. I don't want that. So if meow equals false, which means that it's not, which means it's not a Nan, so it's a real number, we're going to push meow. Oh no, we can't push meow because meow is a Boolean. What we can do is we can take our string index and push it. Remember, it'll only hit here if this condition is met. So let's go ahead, save it, and run this guy. Holy mother of God, we have an actual working function here. Cool. So right now I have it so that I can actually remove any of the silly numbers that go in here. And let's test this to make sure this works further. So let's comment this dude out and let's work with a real phone number, right? Okay, cool. So I have every digit there. Awesome. So there's my function, there's my array. All right. So this is still set up inside my function outside my for loop. This is going to be a little different now. So let's go ahead and so since I know how to deal with numbers in an array, how to deal with arrays and put them back into strings, there's something called .join. I know I can do that. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to set this to a variable, let phone equal, so I'm just going to take my array and I'm going to .join it, and I'm going to put quotes in here, which what that's going to do is that's going to give me back a string with anything from the array just pushed together. If I put anything else in here or don't put the quotes, it's going to instantly put a comma or something like that. So let phone equal array, and let's go ahead and console.log. Oh my gosh. Let's go ahead and console.log phone to make sure that we're going to get back what we think we're going to get back. There you go. So phone is that way. And so now we can evaluate. We now have phone back to a string. We now have a string back to a string. It's just in the form of phone. So if phone.length equals true, right, return true. Else, return false. So let's go ahead and test this one more time, and what I expect to happen is it's going to give me true. Sweet mother of God, we did it. And so now let's go ahead and test something for false. Let's go ahead and make this guy way longer than 10. False. And let's also make sure that our original use case works. So there's nothing screwy going on here. So we were passing it 10 digits, and we expect it to return true. Still returns true. Maybe we want to do one more, and this way we can evaluate it if it's even if it's going to be numbers or not. Awesome. That's definitely not a phone number, but let's do something that's 10 digits. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is 10 digits, and we expect it to still return false, and it does. Cool. So that is my problem-solving process for the last problem. This is the answer. I'll delete some stuff, but there you go, guys. That's how you solve the final problem.